And then we had this crazy fucking match. Powerhouse Hobbs, Takeshita, Brian Cage, and Kyle Fletcher versus Jericho, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Paul White. I hope everybody is alive.
Especially Paul White.
So much. Paul White can't even move. And so they immediately brawl backstage. Which is fine.
They did a really good job with Paul White.
Well, they got him out of there quickly after he chokeslammed Fletcher off the ramp through a table. So he's backstage with Hobbs, and we don't see him
back in the parking lot.
And then suddenly they cut backstage, and Hobbs is on a platform, and he lifts up Paul White, and he has to fight to get this guy up. He barely got him up, and he tosses him off onto the hood of this car, and God, that looked like it sucked. We never saw Paul White again. I hope the guy's all right. But that was a crazy bump to take in the shape that he's in.
Oh, I know.
And then, God, all of a sudden they cut to the top of the ramp, and there's Kota Ibushi on a bike, who, by the way, they just announced he'd signed with AEW today.
He signed with AEW months ago.
I know.
He signed in July.
They did the big announcement today. So he's on the top of the ramp on a bike, and his plan is to ride a bicycle down the ramp with a pipe and hit everybody with this pipe. And this bike is going so slow. I don't even know how he kept his balance. It was going so slow. And he's hitting everybody with the worst pipe shots you've ever seen. They all have to sell for it. And then finally he's going around in slow motion, and there's
Brian
Cage. And he freaking clotheslined this guy, and Ibushi bumps backwards off the bike, and he lands right on his head on the cement outside on the mats.
Unbelievable.
I thought this guy was dead. I mean,
he's
to take that bump off one of the worst, and literally had to be the worst looking spot of his career. And he's wrestled blow-up dolls. This was the worst looking spot of his career. And then he almost got killed at the end of it.
The clothesline?
Oh my God, Dave, he landed right on his head.
But I've
not in the ring.
I've seen him do that bump.
I don't care
on
what you've
pavement.
seen. He almost killed himself here.
Well, he's done that on pavement. He's done that in that's the thing he does. I don't think it's a good thing.
It's not a good thing. I'll tell you that right now. It's a bad thing.
He's had neck surgery. I don't like whatever. I mean, he's whatever. I mean, he claims he can do it safely.
Well, I don't believe. I don't all sorts of crazy shit, but that was nuts.
Yeah,
and then he's
done a lot more nuts than that, but it's not a good thing.
Takeshita gets in the ring. He starts hitting people with his bicycle,
which is scary too.
You know what a bicycle is? It's got all sorts of sharp stuff sticking out of it. There's pedals and chains and bars, and man, everyone's trying to protect themselves the best they can. He's killing people with this bike. We had Kota Ibushi taking what the hell did he take? A tombstone off the ramp onto a stack of chairs on the floor with a sign on them.
It was on a table sign.
It was a sign. And there were chairs.
It was the restaurant sign. It was the restaurant sign.
Jesus.
Okay, so the deal with this street fight is that it was from the video game.
Insanely crazy.
Yeah,
and too dangerous.
No, the deal is so it was actually cool because they set it up with signs of a Japanese street. So you have the bicycles from a Japanese, because Japanese, if you go down a Japanese street, you see all these bicycles. People ride their bikes all over the place in Tokyo. I mean, it looked like a Tokyo thing. And then the restaurant thing, those restaurant signs, that's exactly what a Japanese, you walk down Japanese street, that's what the restaurant signs look like, with the photos of the food and the yen and everything like that. So, yeah, he goes through the restaurant sign stacked up on chairs. It was, there was a lot of crazy stuff in this match.
Well, at the end of the day, Kenny Omega pinned Cage with the one-winged angel. I presume everyone's alive, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
Brian Cage did this power superplex on Kenny Omega outside the ring. They all went through two tables. Ibushi and Omega did moonsaults to the floor. They did a lot of golden lover spots. This is a pretty awesome match.
I don't know if I'd say awesome. I was scared half to death, and it was way too dangerous. But it was a spectacle.
The crowd loved it.
I'll say that. It was a spectacle.
They used Kyle Fletcher. It's funny because they were doing all that stuff, and I kept thinking this is AEW, and they were breaking beer bottles and stuff on each other's heads, and I just thought this was going to be a bloodbath. And the only person who bled was Kyle Fletcher. I mean,
well, Kenny bled from his hand when he cut it on a
well, that's true, but that's
bottle.
Accidental. Yeah.
That's still blood.
Yeah, it was accidental blood. But yeah, I'm talking about cut up heads. I thought Kenny was going to bleed a couple of times, and the only time, Fletcher was bleeding a lot, but he was the only one. Fletcher, man, those guys worked really hard. Fletcher worked hard. Jericho, it was a crazy match, a lot of heat.
Then MJF came out for a promo.